contracts, and so it puts you in an awkward position to have to vote on something you really don't know what you're voting on. And so, being new to the board, we'd like to take an opportunity out to review all of the county contracts that we're operating under, and having to abide by. There are some, though, that I do have a question regarding, and I would like to ask Mr. Joey Perkins, with EOC Director, if he would, Interim Director, if he could come to the podium to assist me with a few answers.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Perkins. In looking at the contracts, maintenance records, performance contracts, service agreements, as it relates to the communication tower sirens, to that nature, I'm not clear at all as to exactly what contract the county has. I have probably about 6 different documents in my hand right now, and I'm not sure which one is the actual contract. I'm not sure if we have several contracts, or whether it's just 2 contracts, or what it relates to as far as when it comes to the communication system, and as it relates to the siren system, and or maintenance and upkeep of those items. Do you or anybody on this board can advise me of that?
Go ahead, Jim. To my knowledge, there is no contract for the sirens, to maintain the sirens. That one was canceled some years ago. There are 2 contracts for the radio communication system. One is to maintain the radio system that we pay monthly. And the other one is for, I believe it's a professional services plan for like $122,000 and some change every year for various things that aren't included in the other contract, some preventative maintenance, things of that nature. So to my knowledge, there's only 2 for the radio system and none for the siren.
Okay, so the one for the siren system has been canceled?
To my knowledge, it has.
It was.
Yeah.
It was canceled. One's for the radio system and the preventive maintenance on those systems. Are you able to provide to this board on request documentation that the work is being done or has been done?
I have to request that from the contractor, and if I receive that, I can provide it to the board.
Okay. As of, before I can vote to support one way or the other, the concerns that I have is that perhaps the contracts may be there, but they're not being executed as written. And I'm not in favor of supporting a contract just to be paying people to do something if the work is not being done. I would ask of you or legal counsel as well, based off of some concerns that I received and that I'm aware of, that documentation be provided to this board immediately regarding the proper maintenance, upkeep of all of the sirens, all of the equipment, as is stated inside of their contracts. And on the contract, it indicated that this information would be provided to Hinds County. Some of it is on a daily basis. Some of the work is being done on a bi-weekly basis. Some of the maintenance is done on a monthly basis. Some have been assigned to a yearly basis. And again, I'm asking of you if you have that. If you don't have it, then perhaps the contractors themselves may have this information. And we would like to follow up on that, either with you legally and put that in writing to them that we're requesting that information. We're hoping that we'll have a work session on the 12th of this month. I would like to see it before the work session so we can discuss it at the work session. I'm concerned about some of the things that I've seen in it, And my concern comes from the standpoint of view that some of it is a little pricey. In regards to specific things, I would say as minute as the lights on communication towers. I do understand the importance of it. I do understand the reason why and the laws that requires you to maintain and be notified concerning the lights. But at a cost of probably over I'm not sure if I have it here, but a cost of
$2,700 a month.
To do what?
Make sure the lights are working on 3 towers.
Okay, I thought that's what I saw. And I assume that they're all working. I looked at a couple of them and I just drove by and they were blinking. And I'm not asking. They're working.
As far as we know, they are.
And so, I mean, I'm concerned about that. And at this point in time, I cannot support it based off the fact that some things have been brought to my attention regarding the contracts. And concerned citizens have expressed a strong concern about it. I would like for that information to be provided to this board as soon as possible upon a verbal request, or we can put it in writing to them effective immediately for that information to be provided as per their contract.
I will verbally request it from the contractor and also send it in an email and we'll CC the board on that.
Okay, are you making that into a motion?
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Mrs. Calhoun?
Let me just say, I have also received several, many concerns from citizens regarding the contractor's work.
Okay, it's been moved and properly.
Question,
Supervisor Stokes?
What's the motion?
The motion is to, would you restate your motion?
We're requesting that documentation be provided to this board as it relates to the contracts that were presented. First of all, the contracts, and then documentation to support that the work has been completed as they indicated in this in their contract.
I thought, Mr. President, somewhere was stated that there's no contract for sirens.
It's not one.
There's not for sirens.
So how are we gonna ask people to give us something for sirens if there's no work? I'm talking about.
We requested the contracts, all contracts. I'm here now and I have about 6 different documents and I'm not sure which one is the contract. And this is for the sirens as well as the communication system as well as the professional service contracts that is attached to it.
Could I get clerk's office somebody a copy?
Okay, Joey, go ahead.
Again, there is no contract for sirens that I'm aware of. There are 2 for the radio system, which we
So
can't get.
we're not asking for sirens.
I'm not sure what we have. I'm asking for all contracts relating to communications, whether it be for sirens, whether it's for the communications, or whether it's for professional service, anything that operates outside of your normal maintenance scope is what I'm asking for. I don't know what the contracts are. I don't know how many there are.
Legal, can you help us in terms of, and give us a copy of what we're speaking from? Because I don't have anything up here.
As I understand the motion, and please correct me if I'm wrong about this, the motion asks for 2 things. One, it asks the vendor to provide any contracts that they have with the county back to the county so that the board can make sure that it's on the same page with the vendor. And secondly, I think the motion asks for any documentation that the contracts would call for, supply that documentation to Mr. Perkins and the board.
And you'll give us a copy of everything, also the contract.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Supervisor Stokes, you were asking earlier, and I said I'd do a memo about the obligations of the board to pay valid claims. I think this probably ties into that as well, and I'll speak to this in my memo. But as I understand the motion is just to ask for the contracts and any documentation that's required by the contracts, ask for that to be provided as well. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Yes.
And this for communications, because there's no siren contract, right?
There is no. Correct.
All right, now.
They just provide me some documentation that there is no siren contract, because I have one in hand that perhaps had been canceled, that was for over $4 million.
A siren contract?
Yes.
For 4 million?
We should find the minutes.
That communication for me. Siren contract was,
That's why the office is here.
siren contract was 800,000, right at 800,000. The communications contract was right at 4 million.
Let me say this.
What is that contract? Lee, I know you've been looking at contracts. I know I had people not been.
Likewise, we're unsure exactly what contracts exist with respect to the communications and sirens. As I understand it, I think there's just an intent of at least the board member who's moving to clarify and understand what contracts exist. I think Supervisor Stokes, then that will go back to, once we know what the contracts are and the obligations under them, that would speak to whether we should be paying the claims or not paying the claims. So I think actually Supervisor McQuirter and Supervisor Stokes, your two separate questions of this morning actually merged together and will result in the appropriate resolution.
Thank you, sir.
All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes. Continue, please.